The boss wondered why one of his most valued employees was absent, but had not phoned in. Needing to have an urgent work problem resolved, he dialed the employee's home phone number and was greeted by a child's whispered, "Hello? Is your daddy home?" he asked. "Yes," whispered the small voice. "May I talk with him?" The child whispered, "No." Surprised and wanting to talk with an adult, the boss asked, "Is your mommy there?" "Yes." "May I speak with her?" Again the small voice whispered, "No." Hoping there was someone with whom he could leave a message, the boss asked, "Is anyone else there?" "Yes," whispered the child. "A policeman." Wondering what a cop would be doing at his employee's home, the boss asked, "May I speak with the policeman?" "No, he's busy," whispered the child. "Busy doing what?" "Talking to Mommy and Daddy and the fireman," came the whispered answer. Growing more worried as he heard a loud noise through the earpiece on the phone, the boss asked, "What is that noise?" "A helicopter," answered the whispering voice. "What is going on there?" demanded the boss, now truly apprehensive. Again, whispering, the child replied, "The search team just landed a helicopter." Alarmed, confused, and a little frustrated, the boss asked, "What are they searching for?" Still whispering, the young voice replied with a muffled giggle, "Me!" 1. A woman gets on a bus with her baby. While trying to pay for the bus fare, the bus driver made a comment about how ugly the baby was. Mad about the comment the bus driver made, the lady was huffing and puffing and was clearly upset when she sat down. "What's wrong?" said the man next to her. "The bus driver said something that offended me," she said. "Well, that's not right. Bus drivers are public servants. He shouldn't have offended you. Why don't you go back to the front and ask for an apology?" said the man. "You're right. I should do that right now," said the mother as she stood up. "Good for you," the man replies. "Now let me hold your monkey." 2. A new monk arrives at the monastery. He is assigned the task of helping the other monks in copying the old texts by hand. He notices, however, that they are copying copies and not the original books. So, the new monk goes to the head monk to ask him about this. He points out that if there was an error in the first copy, that error would be continued in all of the other copies. The head monk says, "We have been copying from the copies for centuries. But you make a good point, my son." So he goes down into the cellar with one of the copies to check it against the original. Hours later, nobody has seen him. So one of the monks goes downstairs to look for him. He hears sobbing coming from the back of the cellar and finds the old monk leaning over one of the original books, crying. He asks what's wrong. "You," he says, with anger and sadness in his eyes. The word was celebrated. 3. An 80-year-old blind man walks into a pub and sits at the bar. He orders a pint and tells the landlord, "I've been blind for 50 years, lad. My hearing's perfectly attuned. I bet can tell you what's happening in any room in this pub." "Oh, really?" says the landlord. "Go ahead then." The old man cups a hand around his ear, tilts his head to the ceiling, and listens. "In your bathroom upstairs, the one at the end of the corridor, a tap's been left on." Skeptical, the landlord sends his nephew upstairs to check. His nephew returns and confirms the findings. "Could have been luck," says the landlord. "Go on, try again." The old man cups his ear, tilts his head to the floor, and listens. "In your cellar," he says. "I can hear scurrying. You have a rat infestation." "You're talking rubbish," says the landlord, and sends his nephew to check. He returns, and the old man is right. Again. Now intrigued, the landlord urges him to try again. He cups a hand round his ear and listens to somewhere behind the bar. "Ah, in the storeroom down that corridor," he says. "Someone's having at it in there right now." The nephew goes and checks the storeroom. And what do you know? He finds two of the bar staff shagging away in there. "Bloody man, you truly are incredible," says the landlord. "What else can you hear?" The old geezer hushes the landlord, places his head on the bar, and listens for a while. He lifts his head off the bar and says, "Yep, your beer pump is definitely out of action." The landlord checks the pump. "Ha! You're wrong, old man. It's working perfectly." "Well then, where's my pint?" 4. One day a man drove by a farm and saw a two-legged goat. The man went up to the farmer and said, "Excuse me, but why does that goat only have 2 legs?" "Well," said the farmer, "that goat is very special. One time my wife was cooking something when she stepped out of the kitchen, and it caught on fire. No one in the house knew about it but the goat, and he saved me, my wife, and my 2 kids." "That's amazing," said the man. "But why does the goat only have 2 legs?" "Well, there was that time the goat saw a big storm coming, and we didn't. The goat ran into the house and dragged us out to the storm cellar. If it weren't for that goat, we would all be dead. But still, that doesn't explain why the goat only has 2 legs." And I remember the time my youngest son was stuck up a tree, but I was too far away to hear his cries for help. The goat ran to me and led me to where he was. "Well, that is a miracle, but how come that goat only has 2 legs?" the man said, quite annoyed at this point. "Well," said the farmer, "with all that goat has done for us, we figured it would be a shame to eat him all at once." 5. One morning, the husband returns after several hours of fishing and decides to take a nap. Although not familiar with the harbor, the wife decides to take the boat out. She motors out a short distance, anchors, and reads her book. Along comes the harbor master. He pulls up alongside the woman and says, "Good morning, ma'am. What are you doing?" "Reading a book," she replies, thinking, "Isn't that obvious?" "You're in a restricted fishing area," he informs her. "I'm sorry, officer, but I'm not fishing. I'm reading." "Yes, but you have all the equipment. For all I know, you could start at any moment. I'll have to take you in and write you up. If you do that, I'll have to charge you with says the woman. "But I haven't even touched you," says the fisheries bloke. "That's true, but you have all the equipment. For all I know, you could start at any moment." The fisheries bloke quickly said, "Have a nice day, ma'am," and left. Moral: never argue with a woman who reads. It's likely she can also think. 6. Who shot JR? The mystery that had everyone talking in the 80s. And who you gonna call? The unforgettable line from Ghostbusters. But wait, here's a new one for you. Why did the chicken cross the road? To get to the subscribe button on the other side. Who's gonna hit that subscribe button and join the fun? Don't miss out. Subscribe now and be part of the adventure.